What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Katamas, and it is Friday night, March the 11th, and welcome to the Awakening World and a very special weekend in which we are honoring and celebrating SoulPlay, the festival and the concept behind the festival. I want to welcome everybody that's in our Zoom room, and always let us know where you're from geographically. And right off the bat, what does SoulPlay mean to you? That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I also want to welcome everybody watching on all of the different Facebook groups and pages, the YouTube channels. Thank you to the Sign Network and to Unify for getting us out there. And we'll do our best to kind of check what you guys all have to say. And I can do that for Unify or people in Love Coach Academy. But it's really best if you're willing to come on into our Zoom room and join us directly. That way it's easier to chat with us. We can read your questions and answers more easily, and it's really easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com and register, and boom, you'll get all the links to all three shows. We do shows on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning, as well as special events, and you'll get the links to all of those as soon as you register. So please do that. And again, Zoom room friends, I see a lot of familiar faces. George and Eloise and Dr. Snootopia and Janet and Karen. So chat us up. Let us know how you're feeling, where you're coming from, and what soul play might mean to you. And what's wonderful about Friday nights is not only is it always the start of the Awakening World weekend, but it's Trish time. Fresh back from Costa Rica. Welcome back, Trish.
Thanks, Scott.
We missed you.
You missed me.
We did.
Y'all miss me?
We should tell everybody in the chat room, tell Trish how much we missed her. So before we introduce Romi and Holly and Matt, what does soul play mean to you, Trish?
Question. I was thinking about that as you asked it a little bit before. And for me, in my work and in my life, what soul play has been for me is to remember the connection to my soul, to the place where I was taught to disconnect from it. So in the essence, the soul play is remembering my oneness with you and with you, and to remember that, to dissolve the barriers of separation that I, through the language of judgments or even attachments to something, but to remember the connection between human spirit and body and mind and individual humans, like to know that I am that, or Tatvam Asi. That soul play is playing with the everything that I am. So breath and my heart and my soul connection between all beings, and the integration of my the zing, the zing between the space between this, hues. You know. So for me, soul play looks like embodiment in this lifetime.
Beautiful. Thank you. So in introducing Romi, he's the founder of SoulPlay, and I'm really fortunate in that I've been with SoulPlay pretty much from the beginning. Now, let's go way back, long, 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 long before SoulPlay. There was the Harmony Festival, and of course, I've partnered with Deborah Giusti for 2 years, but I've known her for 35 years because I was going to the Harmony Festival way back. And always like the second weekend of June, that was like the kickoff of summer. We would all gather, people would come from everywhere to go to the Harmony Festival. And the Harmony Festival lasted for 33 years. But then life took over and things happened, and Harmony Festival came to an end. But a few years later, God bless Romi Elan, because he came up with SoulPlay and the SoulPlay Festival, and he created it with Holly Burlet, and we're going to meet Holly in a moment, and Erica Hellstrom. And I'm going to read the vision, and then I'm going to compliment them because they've pulled it off. SoulPlay aspires to create a world where every individual is celebrated, where unique desires and needs are acceptable, where people can be free to be themselves, express themselves, and interact in a way that feels nourishing to them without fear of judgment or shame. In other words, heaven on earth for 4 days. And they've pulled it off. Every year when I go, it is so sweet. There's a tremendous depth, but it's intimate. It's several hundred people. It's not thousands. And honestly, it's an alcohol and drug-free environment, which I really like. And that way, the depth and the connection and the intensity is coming from the work that we're all doing together. So, Romi, thank you so much for creating SoulPlay. And I'm going to bring in your partner here, because really it's the two of you that make it happen. And Holly Burlet is somebody that I've known also through SoulPlay Festival and other festivals. She's the program director, and she finds all these amazing human beings and brings them together, curating engaging experiential programs. And she's really good at it. She's also a course manager for the Strozzi Institute, and we want to find out more about that during this weekend, Holly. And that's where she gets to support people and leading a more embodied and purpose-driven life through the practice of somatics, just like Trish was saying, what she thinks of when she thinks of SoulPlay. So welcome both of you. And since this is kind of you're going to be with us all weekend long, but let's go right to what has the SoulPlay Festival meant to each of you? And then how do you apply the spirit of SoulPlay through your lives the other 360 days of the year?
You want to go?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. I go to a lot of these events that have lots of dancing and connection and community. And I hear often, gosh, I wish we could be like this all the time. And to me, like, that's what soul play is. It's about connection to self and others, and let's play together and dance. And I really feel like being involved in soul play so much and surrounding myself with this community, I've really been able to create that life, and feel really lucky for that.
Thank you. How about you, Romi?
So soul play, are we asking why it's meaningful?
Yeah.
Soul play for me, it's an environment. It is it's the environment. It's the way that I wish the world operated at large.
Mm-hmm.
It's a space where open-heartedness and compassion and care for one another and for ourselves is at the forefront. It's a place where we can walk around unguarded. We can kind of shed the defenses that I've adopted in order to protect myself out in the world from the harshness that's out there. And being in a place where you don't have to hold your defenses up high, and you're able to come at people with an open heart, with your hands open, kind of raw and authentic self, and meet other people that are in that same raw authenticity of whatever is there. And when you meet people in that way, it's magic.
Yeah.
It's like real connection happens, and everything seems right in the world.
Yeah, you guys have done an amazing job of creating a place where there's so much emotional intimacy. And that's really, it's beautiful. And it's safe. I really want to say again. And one of the reasons for everybody watching, why are we doing this all weekend long? Because I love this festival. And for 2 years, most of us have not been able to go to festivals. And I am really grateful and looking forward to the second weekend of June, when I get to meet a lot of you and we get to hug each other and we get to be in a safe environment physically, and people can go, wow, Scott, you're taller than I thought you would be. Um, and there really is your hair, and all those things that take place. And what also takes place at SoulPlay are amazing presenters. And so, Romi, would you like to tell us a little bit about the amazing presenter we decided to have join us tonight?
Sure. So tonight we have with us my good friend Matt Sturm, who has been part of the SoulPlay family, the event family, since 2016. And it's been interesting. Matt is an incredible teacher who we've had the privilege of giving a stage to throughout multiple evolutions of his career, and kind of like both witness and support his growth in the world. And it's really incredible to see someone who continuously pushes people to grow, but then is not afraid to do the same towards himself. And every year steps up and kind of reinvents a new version of himself. And it's really beautiful to see. Started off with doing a lot of Tantra and sexuality-based work. And I think now has evolved into consciousness. And I think he'll do a better job at explaining what he focuses on now. But he's quite amazing. And I'm very honored to call you a friend, Matt Sturm.
So, Matt, I see that you are the founder of Living Cosmos, a mystery school for the evolution of consciousness. And that's pretty perfect, considering that the show is called The Awakening World and it's all about raising consciousness. So tell us about your mystery school.
Yeah, it seems very aligned. So the work that I do now, I do a number of things. First off, oh, there I am. I just love working with people deeply to be more present, feeling in their bodies, connected to their hearts. And that's kind of the main theme for all of the work that I do. The mystery school in particular contains meditations and initiations into growing and evolving as who we are as human beings, both individually and collectively. And the mystery school aspect is we're drawing on the Western mystery tradition through Kabbalah and Tarot, and it's inspired by Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism. So some interesting things that are all in service to our own path of growth. And it's this spiral path where the deeper we go, it just keeps going inward and inward and inward and outward and outward and outward.
Wow. So can you give an example of maybe some of what you teach in your mystery school and how that kind of interacts with what you might be teaching at SoulPlay?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is an online course called Experience Higher Consciousness that anyone can sign up for. It's self-paced. And it takes us through all of these different experiences of what consciousness is, how I can meet consciousness, and how I can grow myself as a person. So to get really specific, we're looking at the awareness of our bodies, embodied consciousness. We're looking at using our energy to raise our consciousness. And by consciousness, I mean awareness, presence, understanding of who I am and how I exist as a human in this universe. So the experience higher consciousness moves through 5 different categories of consciousness as a series of initiations. The way that that connects with what I've been doing at SoulPlay, I don't know if I make it less woo, but in SoulPlay I have 90 minutes to present. And so it's really about how can we make it experiential and accessible in a way for people who are just walking in. And this year coming up, I'll be doing a breathwork journey. So we'll be Breathing Alive is the name of it, with music and sound, and people enter a very expanded state. And in that state, lots tends to move and release, and it can be pretty profound.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to holotropic breathwork?
Yes, it's not holotropic like exactly, but it's along the same lines as that.
Awesome.
Yes.
Totally certified in rebirthing and holotropic breathwork, because that's just how I am. I love to get high. Well, so what I'm curious about, not only in the general conversation about the inspiration of SoulPlay for all of you, but how you choose the presenters and what you're like, how you hold the container of what this is like, because I know that there's something that you're going for, right? And I'd love to hear a little bit about that. So that wasn't a very clear question, and it wasn't a question at all, but I think you got it.
Yeah, I could speak a little to that.
Yeah.
So it's really a journey. The whole weekend is a journey. We ease people through. The first day is very much a grounding. We help everyone get grounded and arrive and meet the people they're going to be journeying with. And then start the journey throughout the rest of the weekend, helping them dive deeper into themselves. And all the workshops, you know, we all have different moods, different things speak to us at different times. So we offer categories of workshops depending on where you're at in your journey. There's embodied movement for people who that's how they speak and that's how they learn. Relationships and communication, intimacy and sexuality, inner world, personal growth, whatever is speaking to you or whatever you feel you're needing to get to those blocks, to get to know yourself more. And so, and the workshops just take you on a journey. Anything you want to add to that, Romi?
Yeah, I think you spoke it beautifully. I think there's something to be said about this. There's definitely different dimensions. What we try to do is, at the end of the day, is get people into an embodied state. And just the pathway to that is different for different people. And so we try to be very accessible to a large swath of people that, you know, different pathways to get to the same embodied state. But that is actually the goal. The goal is to get to that defenseless, raw, and safe feeling state where you can kind of stew in and make discoveries about yourself. And yes, it's through dance, it's through touch, it's through swimming in the pool and doing like different workshops that we have underwater. And it's yoga and energy practices, and it's all these different things that end up all bringing everyone to the same place, this place of kind of being. Which on the last day, we a lot of times celebrate this, where we stop all the workshops and we bring everyone together in one space, and we have kind of one music playing, one dance, where everyone kind of gets to be in that together and celebrate that space.
That's great. So how do you create such an intimate space? I mean, because when someone hears festival, they hear thousands of people and it's like some EDM. So what makes SoulPlay different?
Well, festival is a strong word, and I agree that it is not necessarily the best word to describe SoulPlay, and there's been a lot of discussion about removing that word.
Family, that's what comes through for me.
It's somewhat between a festival and a retreat. It's a festive retreat, or more so, it's just an immersive experience. But yeah, there are many hundreds of people there. It's not 30 people. There will be this year, between 600 to 800 people on the grounds, and it will still be an intimate experience. And I think part of that has to do with a very strong ingrained culture. First and foremost, SoulPlay is SoulPlay because of the values system that we embody from the moment you step in the door. And I would say that the community also embodies these principles outside of the doors as well. But from the moment you step in the door, you enter a universe in which there's really strong values, and we educate people on these values ahead of time, at the door, and then persistently throughout the festival. And that's one. So just the education piece. And then I think another thing is we actually keep the ratio of like new people to SoulPlay compared to kind of people that have been before to a certain level. So there aren't too many new people that kind of change the culture. So there's a lot of kind of eldership happening every year, where there's a good 50 to 70% of the people that have been before that are shepherding the new people in and kind of teaching them the ways, and it kind of creates this family feel that never really feels ever like it's just a bunch of new people that don't know what this is about and came to party.
So is there how do you choose new people to come in? Is my next question. Sorry, I'm just curious.
New people self-select. I wouldn't say that we choose.
I think they find us.
Part of the way we choose new people to come in is we don't advertise very broadly. And most of the people that come in end up coming in through word of mouth, through people that have already been, or through networks of our presenters. And so it ends up being a kind of organic, grown culture that random people that just saw an ad, we never get those people. So it always comes through people that recommend it. And then that keeps the culture tight.
Awesome, thank you.
I want to add a couple things. Again, I'm really hoping that a lot of our Global Peace Tribe family are going to come to SoulPlay so I can meet all of you in person. And the vibe and the energy of SoulPlay is so similar to the vibe of the Awakening World and previously Saturday Night Live. It's consciousness, it's creative, it's learning, it's discovering, and it's very upbeat. It's not political, it's not, divisive. There's a spirit of safety that I always experience at SoulPlay. From the moment you register, literally, I know it sounds kind of funny, but people are smiling. The people that greet you are smiling, and they're happy. And there's a really good help center. And if somebody does get triggered, there's counselors that are available. Usually counselors that are available at every workshop, and always counselors that are available in kind of a central part of the grounds. And so if stuff comes up, which is wonderful, when we get triggered, and usually I'm teaching the workshop and getting triggered, but, getting triggered is a good thing if you feel safe. And then there's people that go, yeah, tell me more, let's talk about it. So it's a very safe environment. And the other thing I want to say is it's not very predatory. It doesn't have this big pickup vibe. Again, maybe because it's drug and alcohol free. It's a very safe environment. And so that's why I love it and why I encourage as many people as possible to come to it. And again, I just want to thank you, Romi and Holly, for making that happen. I mean, let's face it, you're mom and dad, and you've done a really good job of creating that energy field of safety.
My mom.
I really love that it's a sober festival, and I think that really shifts everything, because it shifts it from this festival vibe to something deeply more intimate. So it allows for more vulnerability, I think. And
Yeah.
because I've played in lots of realms of a lot of things, and I'm currently in a sober place in my life, what I'm noticing is that there's nowhere to run, right? I'm not trying to run away, and I'm just finding myself leaning in more to the discomfort and finding myself actually wanting more sober spaces, more reverent spaces, like places where I can find the connection without the need for some alternative thing to come in. And so I'm just really excited about that. I've heard lots of incredible things about your festivals through the years. Last year I've had 2 friends that were just like, whoa. And I'm really excited to be speaking to you tonight. Thanks.
Yeah.
If I can
one more
chime in.
thing. One more thing about the sober piece. For me, the people that come to SoulPlay, like when you catch us on Saturday night or Sunday morning, you swear everyone is high, because to me, when you go through that journey with people and get to that rawness and like come out the other side, the feeling of elation is better than any drug that you could ever take, and it lasts. It's something that you could bring into your life. So high on life, exactly.
Matt?
For me, the word that comes through about SoulPlay, what makes it so special, is integrity. There's a really solid container, as Romi was saying, and the hearts of the people who organize it are there because they want to be in the experience. They're not trying to make money. They're not trying to check out and party or give people a place to go crazy and party. They really, like, the core value is being present and feeling, like being here. And that integrity, like, it starts at the very beginning and it goes all the way through, and everybody feels it and aligns to it. And that's, like, for me, teaching at other festivals, that's one of the main pieces that I notice and is so special about SoulPlay.
Thanks, Matt.
I have a question I've been wanting to ask you, Romi. I've always thought it was interesting that at the same time you were creating SoulPlay, you were creating a family and a wife and 2 children. And as best as I can tell, it kind of happened simultaneously, or pretty close to that. You had your 2 children during the SoulPlay time, I believe.
It is true.
What's that been like for you? Like, I've always been curious about the connection for you between giving birth to SoulPlay and giving birth to a family.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So it is true that some of the connections are that part of the initial courage that it took to get off my butt and actually do this and say, okay, let's try to do this outrageous thing. I didn't come from a history of working in festivals or in even being very ingrained in this community in the Bay Area, but I had an idea and it was scary to implement it. And something happened when I discovered that we were pregnant. My wife Noah and we got pregnant with our first child, Gaia. And something about that pregnancy, about the knowledge that we're going to have a child, actually gave me the courage that I better do this now or forever hold my peace. I was like, it kind of said like, oh no, like once I will have a child, it's going to be like that much harder to convince myself and the family to like start this new thing. So that really helped me get off the ground, I would say. And it's been so special. It was so special watching Gaia grow up in SoulPlay Festival from the very first one where she was still in the womb at about 7 months. But then every festival subsequently to see her there, and there's pictures of her at every festival, kind of growing up at the festival. And it's been very special, like for her to watch her grow like that with the festival. And I think it's been very challenging because growing a family is a lot, and that's been kind of hard. And growing a business is a lot. And I feel like there's a lot of parallels between having a child and having a business. And they're kind of at the same stage also. So I feel like human children and businesses do kind of follow a similar trajectory on average. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
now SoulPlay is like 7 years old and going into first grade and learning to read.
Yeah.
See what happens. See what happens.
This is very cool. Very cool. I'm gonna, some people have been asking questions in the chat box, but I want to recognize a lot of people are just listening, and we've got people on Unify from New Zealand, all over Canada and the United States, the Philippines. So welcome everybody from all over the world. That's pretty cool. So people have been asking where it actually takes place, and it takes place at a beautiful retreat site in Cobb, California. Cobb is in the wine country. It's about 2 hours north of San Francisco, about 1 hour east of Santa Rosa. Um, and the accommodation is, there's camping. It's June, so the weather's always really, really nice that time of year, especially in Cobb. And there's camping. People can bring an RV. They can bring a van. And if they really, really need a hotel, there are hotels maybe 20, 30 minutes away. So there's those options to our Airbnbs. Um, and we'll be putting links in and talking about some discounts that Romi and Holly are offering. And please continue to let us know any questions you have. The Wild Abbot, for those of you who don't know him, Mystic Monastery is a 10,000-acre evangelical ecclesiastic nation in Puerto Rico. And it's run by our friend Jerry Anderson. I'm going to put the spotlight on Jerry there for a minute. And Jerry asked a really good question, which I'm going to put out there and see what people have to say. Jerry's question is, what are the signs of being in the state of soul play? How does one realize soul play? So now we're kind of going beyond the festival and talking about the consciousness of soul play. So I'd love to maybe open it up to all four of you, actually.
I can chime in. One of the things that SoulPlay has done an amazing job of through the years is creating a culture of consent, where we're in a space where we can touch each other, where we can be sensual with each other, where we can connect and share intimacy. And the foundation of that is everybody has a no. Everybody understands how to respect a no. And there's a process if there's a breach. So with that foundation, then we're able to enter into this place where my desires are okay. My connection is okay. Whatever I'm feeling is welcome here. And in addition to opening all of this within myself, there's so many opportunities to connect with other people, to have stimulating conversations, to snuggle and cuddle, to dance. And all of this, as Romi said, leads to this embodied presence. And it's really the connection together with embodied presence that is the realization of soul play for me.
That was beautifully stated. Wow. Beautiful. Trish.
The signs and symptoms of soul at play. Here, I'm just gonna give you like what it's gonna happen is an interpretive dance. Hold on, just give me a second. Can you see me?
Yes.
Like kind of like that.
That was pretty awesome. I can see Jerry is digging it for sure. Mystic Jerry is loving that. So good job, Trish. By the way, Jerry just wrote, I'm glad you're well after getting hit on the head. We see a little boo-boo. And if anybody is interested in becoming a non-gendered monk at the Mystic Monastery in Puerto Rico, several people through the Global Peace Tribe have come down and joined Jerry's efforts there. So if you're interested, contact him at the email address that's in the chat box, and I'll put that in Unify as well. Romi, Holly, do either of you have anything you want to add or express about the consciousness of soul play, how you cultivate it outside the festival?
Sure. I think it all boils down, it's a little bit what Matt said, but it all boils down to me feeling both grounded in myself and safe in an environment to express myself in whatever way wants to express. And that's how it looks. That's the sign. The signs are when I get this feeling that I can do no wrong. That I will be all of me will be accepted. Whatever I'm feeling, whatever I want to put out there, whether it's positive or negative, joyful or sad, it's welcome. And that feeling of I'm both in touch with myself and it's safe to express it with the people around me and the environment that I'm in is the embodiment of SoulPlay for me.
Beautiful.
And it's what I seek to create not only at the events, but at home, with my family, with the friends that I hang out with, the people that I call into community. At the end of the day, if that's not available, if I have to shift myself or be someone else in order to be okay for them, I'm not interested in that anymore.
Yeah, living in authenticity, and that is something that takes place at SoulPlay, you know? And that authenticity doesn't mean that it has to be happy, happy, happy all the time. It's a very safe place for people to be coping with their sadness, coping with their stuff. And actually, I'll probably ask a question along those lines, but I still want to hear from Holly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Romi's explanation there, and I just felt my whole body kind of relax a little in that remembering that, yeah, finding where you're truly at and sharing that, being that, that's SoulPlay.
Beautiful. So, we had David Pramal and Mitten on Saturday Night Live recently, and they did a video for us. And Deva was saying that one of the things that's up in our consciousness in the field is how can we be so playful? How can we be in joy when there's a war going on and most of us are feeling that war and are just shocked and horrified by what's happening? Or maybe we are feeling the suffering of friends of ours because of the pandemic, or we're feeling the suffering of the planet or species being lost because of climate change. And so there is a tremendous amount of suffering going on. And often, especially in Judeo-Christian cultures, there's almost like a, how can you be joyful when there's suffering? And that's an orientation that maybe some of us have grown up with. And I had actually mentioned to Romi and Trish and Holly that I wanted to bring this up this weekend. And then, ironically, I brought it up to them a couple days ago. Out of the blue, my dog died last night. Literally 2 days ago, he was fine. He's 13 years old, was 13 years old. And then he woke up yesterday and something was really, really wrong. And he died in my arms last night. So it's interesting that this question I wanted to bring up has hit me on a pretty big personal level of wow. And it's a big event for me, my dog dying. It's a really big deal. Because he's my kids. I never had children. My dogs are my kids, my family. So I'm just going to say briefly my thought on it, and then I really want to hear from Matt and Holly and Trish and Romi. As best as I can tell, I like the word bittersweet. That life is bittersweet. It's not just bitter, it's not just sweet, it's both. And for us to take time to mourn, whether it's personal suffering or the suffering of people around us or the suffering of the world, to take time to mourn and to take time to pray and to take time, if there's actions we can take to alleviate suffering, absolutely take time to alleviate suffering. And then compartmentalize. There's the time that we're doing that, and there's the time that we are dropping into gratitude And gratitude is, I believe, a wonderful bridge from the place of suffering and in the place of empathy into realizing that we are, the majority of us watching this show and listening, are safe, do have homes, do have food, do have health. Most of us are blessed. And so to find what we can be grateful for and to go from there. So that's my 2 cents on it. And I'd love to open it up and I'm going to see what Trish, Holly, Romi, and Matt have to say. And I'll also check to see what any of you in the chat boxes might have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when times are tough, that's when we need resilience practices the most. The world is asking a lot of us right now. A lot is going on and alive in our communities, and support is needed all the time, everywhere. It's a lot. And how can we keep showing up unless we keep filling our cup up? So somewhere, somehow in there, we have to find time to rejuvenate, to fill our cup up. So I think it's important.
Thank you, Holly. Romi.
I was just, yeah, well, I could speak, I guess. Yeah, the original, so joy and grief and anger are all equal parts of the human experience. And same as at SoulPlay, we encourage and invite people to actually feel all of it. Same is true in life. You can't just feel the joy, or just feel the sadness. It's actually not part of the deal, I feel. And it's true for everything. It's like, it's kind of a cliche maybe, but you can't, you really taste sugar, you really taste sweet only after you've had something sour in your mouth, or you especially taste it, and vice versa. And the contrast matters. And I was kind of telling you this story when we met earlier about how I grew up in Israel, and I grew up in a culture where war and fighting and celebration were literally really coincided. They were literally happening at the same time, all the time, not just once in a while. And it wasn't on the other side of the world. It was on the, it was an hour that way. And sometimes I was in the fight. And I think what Holly said, it brings us back to what Holly said, which is, in order to like it's all part of the human experience. And in order to keep on going and to fight another day, we need to fill our cups, and we need to rejoice and have gratitude for what we do have. And so it's a constant. It's not that we need to focus on one, not the other. It's just, it's a constant. How do we manage just to live with both and kind of going in between?
I love that. Thank you. For me, maybe something shifted for me over the last few years, but play does no longer looks like a specifically joyous activity. It's not something that I'm not aiming for bliss, or I'm not aiming for joy. I'm aiming for what's alive right now, for you and for me and for what is happening. And so I'm glad that you brought up the dynamic of, all feelings are very the same. They're on equal playing fields. And I also love what you brought up, Holly, is that there is a need for embodiment and a need for connection in hard times. Something that comes to my mind, many years ago, a little baby Trish on my young journey, read the tea bag. Remember, the like little whatever teas they are, and it said, "Hard times require furious dancing." And it was something that stuck with me, well, obviously for 10 years or 15 years now, and I'm still there with it. But for me, when I'm soul at play, is to be feeling it all in the moment, be with it, and to actually be with it, to be very intimate with it. I just spent a week with a bunch of people doing a lot of shadow work, a lot of like triggery stuff. And they were like, "Do write your intention." And I was like, oh crap. And everyone has these like beautiful intentions. And I'm like, I'm here to have fun. And what I mean by fun is like, I'm here to like get in the mud and dance around and like get in the shadow and just like look at those things and to walk with you in it. I want to walk in your shadow with you, and I want to walk with me in my shadow. And that's intimacy for me. So in this place where my soul is at play is when I'm deeply in it, in the radical acceptance of what is with you and with all of us.
Trish, could you talk a little further about what walking in the shadow with someone means? What does that look like? What's an example?
Okay. Well, can I use you as an example?
Ah!
I'll use someone else, someone unnamed.
Go ahead.
Well, we all have these maybe like weaknesses of strengths, or we all have these maybe blind spots that we can't see. Here's a personal example. I'll use this. So at this thing that I went to, there was this really deep, intimate place where we got to share our fears. So places where we live into our fears, or where we maybe like do manipulative behaviors, or our strategies to get our needs met, or maybe we're playing out systemic oppression without knowing it. Like there's a lot of places where the shadow can come up. In this place, my fear was, I'm afraid that you're going to go into your process and leave me here. And I was like, oh, so the place of like some little bits of abandonment that are still there is my shadow. And then this is so funny, our mirroring and perfectly like matching curriculum. She was like, well, I'm afraid that I'm going to go into my shadow, or I'm going to go into my curriculum and leave you there. And I was like, oh, perfect. And I was like counting on it then. So that's what I mean. So when we got down really to it is that I was like, I just want to walk with you in your trigger. I want you to be there with me when we're both triggered. That's what I mean. I want to walk together, because that's where intimacy is created. That's where, for me, intimacy is vulnerability and trust connected. So in that.
Beautiful. Thank you. I am putting the spotlight on you, Mr. Matt, in that you run a mystery school. Love to hear your thoughts about shadow, or the question that we were asking earlier about, manifesting soul play in your life, even during times of suffering or struggle.
Yeah. Everything, I'm such a yes to everything that was shared about joy in times of suffering and hardship. And for me, it comes down to being honest about what's here and choosing to feel it. And should I be feeling, is it okay for me to be feeling XYZ? Of course it is, because that's what's arising. And even a step further for me is there's a way that if I'm grieving, I can joyfully make love to my grief. Or when I'm in happiness and ecstatic, dance connection, I can send that out and include the people of Ukraine in my joy. I can include the earth in my joy. And that is actually one of the most transformational experiences that we as co-resonant individuated consciousnesses can share with each other. When I'm fully feeling what's here, welcoming that, and then sharing my joy, sharing my love back out into the world. That's really the practice.
Beautiful.
Mm.
And I'd like to add also, just about soul play, the program is built in that way as well. Not only do we have courses, programs like Matt's Joygasm for the Planet, where we get to feel our joy and share it with everyone, but we have grief circles. We have somatics classes to help people slow down and feel where it is in their body and understand more what's going on. So the program holds the whole spectrum too. It's not just a festival. You don't just come happy. There's space for it all.
Yeah, there's something about the size that's just right. You know, it's large enough to where you're gonna find people that you vibe with, whether you knew them previously or you meet them at the festival. But there still is a sense of intimacy. It doesn't have this big, wild, crazy energy. It's a safe little bubble. It's like entering. I really experienced it as heaven on earth for 4 days. And it's like, oh wow, yeah, this is the way we want the future to be, where people are joyful and they're real and there's support and we're learning and we're growing and we're evolving and and there's all sorts of different options of how to connect. It's really quite beautiful. Uh,
I would want to jump in there, and I would argue that it's not about the size that makes
hmm,
it that way. It's about the collective agreement that people agree to enter into this values-based environment. And then it's also like it helps that we also create enough um, workshops and spaces for people to be in, so that you're never really in a space with more than that many people. So as the festival grows, we just create more spaces, and so you do end up in these smaller groups doing activities. But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily because of the size, the general size. I think it has to do more with the strength of the culture, the sober nature of the event, the fact that everyone you meet is genuinely open to meeting you. And it doesn't matter if you meet a new person, a new person, a new person, but there's that same flavor of openness, and presence, and that is what makes that intimate family feel bigger. Even when we've done events with 250 people, and we've done events with 600 people, 550 people, and you get that same feel. And I think it's important to stress that, but I don't think it's necessarily the size.
yeah, thank you, thank you. Um, I'm going to read some of the comments from our friends. Um, Dr. Snootopia writes, for me, soul play is finding the pathway to world peace. Avoiding our political situation is impossible, but soul play is how we can do that.
Mm.
Um, and that's beautiful. Um, and uh, and thank you everybody for the comments about my puppy passing. I really appreciate that, and thank you, Mystic, uh, Mystic Cherry. I'm just scanning. I know that there are a few other comments that have come in. We've talked about how many people. We've talked about where it's located. We've talked about the environment and the setting. Anna Ohm suggests if you're going to change it, yeah, we were talking about is it a festival? Is it a community? And Anna Ohm writes, I like the word tribe. And obviously, I'm a little bit spoiled with that word as well. Um, okay, next question, and this is for everybody again. And Trish, I'll maybe put you on the spot with it first. What are some ways that we can, when we're feeling isolated, when we're feeling disconnected, when we aren't um, in that space where we feel, even though it's a safe environment, how do we, when we're disconnected, even at home, between now and June, when we're going to gather together, what are some ways to move from that isolated, disconnected place into authentic soul play, into authentic soul joy?
Um, the first thing that I would suggest is self-empathy, and to be really generous and compassionate with yourself first. Take really, really beautiful care of yourself, and to do extra for you, to be extra love. Um, whatever your strategy, like your healthy strategies to meet your needs for connection would be. So whether it's dance or getting back into your body or writing poetry or finding that experience that allows you to come back to self. And then from that place to maybe reach out to someone who you feel fully seen by. And if you don't have anyone in your life like that, there's resources of therapists on my page. You can reach out to me or anybody in Love Coach Academy, and I'm sure you can reach out to these people. But to start in the places where you connect to self, and then to reach out to someone who you feel fully seen by, and then to put yourself in, vulnerable positions of leaning in to a place like SoulPlay. Because that, it takes a little courage, or in my case, I just kind of go for it. Like, I'm like, if I think about it too much, then I'm like, oh God, I'm never going to go anywhere. And then I'm like, okay, hi, I'm Trish. Kind of weird. You want to be my friend? Like, it just kind of works like that. And sometimes, I'm more inward, but to honor yourself, to get back in touch with yourself, to reach out to someone who sees you, and then to lean into the discomfort.
Beautiful answer. Thank you, Trish. Matt, Holly, Romi, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm really trying to allow myself, especially after the pandemic, being so isolated for so long, allowing myself that space. If I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling low, I don't have to rush so much to get out of it. I find that place where I'm not scared of the low. I'm not scared of the darkness. If you stay in the darkness long enough, your eyes start to adjust. And what's there? What's the learning there? What is needed there? And so sit, breathe, slow down, and know that everything changes, and this too shall pass. And definitely reach out for support.
Yeah, and the flip side of that, everybody, is think about who do you know that needs support right now. Let's be on the lookout, and in awareness, of who in our world is feeling isolated and feeling lonely or feeling disconnected, and be proactive about reaching out to those people. I think we all know that suicide, sadly, has just gone sky high in our culture right now. And especially young people that feel just hopeless with climate change and the pandemic. So, whether it's younger people or senior citizens, whomever it is, think about who do you know that you can support, and find ways to support them.
I had a friend last week commit suicide.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
A young man, part of our community.
Wow.
So reach out.
Taking a breath for that. Well, I am going to go for a moment. I just put into the chat box in Zoom, and I'll pop it into some of the Facebook pages. But let's take a look at the actual website for SoulPlay. And it's pretty easy to go there. It's just soulplay.com. And it's
Nope. It's soulplay.co/. It's not this.
Oh, so it's not this one here.
It's .co.
.co. Oh, thank you. Thank you. My computer automatically put the M in there. There we are. We are SoulPlay. So thank you. It is SoulPlay, one word, SoulPlay.co. And Romi and Holly are offering a really cool discount. I just put it into the chat box. But tell us a little bit, as I have this up, where are some pages that I should pull people down to? And tell us a little bit about the special that you're offering our Awakening World friends.
Cool. So this is our general page. In typical years, we had several events, SoulPlay Festival being one of them. If you kind of scroll down, you'll see SoulPlay Festival, which is the one that's currently happening. We also had events, one called Bear Fest and one called Fall Fest, which were two other events which are not happening this year. So SoulPlay Festival in June is the only one that's going to happen this year. The other two are currently casualties of the pandemic, but hopefully we'll bring them back. at some point. But if you go to the SoulPlay Festival page, which that's going to take you directly to tickets, but you can click on that, or the tickets. You can go to tickets, and then if you go, actually, this is where the tickets are. But if you actually click on the home page, anyway, you can see that tickets are currently around $550. They go up to $600, and for this weekend only, up until Sunday, we're offering an additional $50 off for the tickets. This is a fully inclusive weekend and includes the meals for the weekend, and of course, a spot for camping, as well as like everything that happens in the event is included.
Beautiful. And
Now,
so
in that website, I just want to say, like, in that website, more on the experience tab, you can see all of the different workshop presenters, the different workshops, the musicians, and descriptions of them. You just can navigate to those pages kind of on the top. But it's soulplay.co/festival, which is also the link that you put in the chat.
So Holly, tell us about the eclectic group of presenters as I slowly scroll and we take a look at your presenters. Tell us a little bit about how you one of our people was asking how you choose the presenters, and maybe just share a little bit with us as we slowly look at all these beautiful people.
Yeah, our presenters, some of them find us, some of them we go scouting for. We really look for presenters that are established in their field and are really excited about what they want to share. What else can I say about them?
It's people that typically embody the principles of SoulPlay, that are like on board with the vision of what we're trying to create, the kind of world that we're trying to create. It's people, and beyond that, it's people that are not just wanting to be teachers, but recognize that they themselves are human beings in the process as well. So we particularly work with people that are humble enough to understand that for the rest of the time, when they're off stage, they are just another participant in the community that can learn and grow and go to activities and go to workshops like everybody else. And we kind of shy away from people that think that they're above that they've already kind of done that. Yeah. In general, it's a beautiful group of people that are very passionate about what they do and are established in their fields.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Matt, I'm going to put the spotlight on you for a minute, and tell us a little bit about what you're going to be teaching at SoulPlay in June, and then we'll take a look at a little bit more at your actual website and your work.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Yeah, so I mentioned it a bit already. I have two offerings at SoulPlay this year. One is called Breathing Alive, and that will be a breathwork journey where we are welcoming in our aliveness. And as we breathe and start to move energy, things release and open, and we can enter expanded states of consciousness, stuck emotions, hard things can release through. And it's really tends to be a profound journey for everybody in the group. And we do it to music that is very moving. And then it'll be me, and there'll be a few of assistants who can offer hands-on support for people who need that to just help process through the space and make it through safely. So that's one piece. I've led a number of breathwork journeys for SoulPlay. It's one of my favorite places to offer it because people are so open and available. And then the other offering is brand new. There's a lot of trust between me and SoulPlay because I've been coming for a number of years. So they give me some rein to bring new things and innovate and share. So the new one is called Joygasm for the Planet. And in this offering, everybody's going to be individual. There's no shared touch, but we're going to be laughing and celebrating, and again, bringing energy and the quality of joy into our bodies and our hearts and expressing it, opening our voices, and then sharing that, offering that back down to the earth. And when I was tuning in about where we are collectively, this is what came through as the thing that would be most beneficial for us together, coming together at SoulPlay. Like, how can we be of service through this amazing heaven on earth experience that we opt into?
Beautiful. I can't wait to do your Joygasm workshop. I
Yeah.
saw Trish get all lit up there. So that's going to be really, really fun.
Hmm.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to go to your website, and I want you to tell us a little bit more about, in addition to seeing you at Soul Play, it's the website, by the way, is Living Cosmos, and Cosmos is spelled with a K, so it's LIVING, Living Cosmos, KOSMOS.com. Now that's a really cool idea. It's a beautiful picture. What does Living Cosmos actually mean? Matt? Did we lose Matt? I think we lost Matt.
No, he's there. He's just muted.
Mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I quit out for a moment. So living cosmos is a worldview. It's a paradigm to recognize that the world around me is not a collection of inert matter, but that I inhabit a universe that is fundamentally alive, and that my aliveness is not separate from the aliveness of this world. And with that framework, so much opens up to us through our direct experience. We start to connect with the creativity of the cosmos, and we channel it in through our own being. So there's a self-paced course, which is probably the place to start, called Experience Higher Consciousness. And for this group, I am going to be sharing a coupon code for half off that's valid for the next week, which is Awakening World, all caps, all one word. So if you'd like to enroll, that's my gift for you. And then there are synchronous courses, which happen a couple of times a year. One is called Beyond Materialism, and that's about moving outside of our scientific materialist worldview. And the other one is Visionary Cosmology. And for that one, we use the Tarot deck to go through a series of initiations.
Beautiful, Matt. Oh, I look forward to it. It's nice to meet you. I actually hadn't met you prior to this.
Likewise, yeah.
Yes, it's good to meet you. Thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. I'm going to read just a couple of comments that have come in, and then see if Trish has any final thoughts, questions, and give everybody a chance for one last comment. From Joni, and I want to really acknowledge this is really a very vulnerable sharing from somebody watching us on Unify. Joni writes, I'm feeling very isolated where I live. I'm needing to find loving, compassionate friends. I've had to let go of people in my life that were not genuine. I lost my job of 30 years due to COVID, and that's kept me isolated too. Um, and so she talks about how she's met wonderful friends from classes online, but now I really need to get out and meet people. It's just not easy. So thank you for that, Joni. And again, that's why I just really want to encourage everybody, plan now. Come to California. I Cobb is about 30 minutes away from where I live and where Trish lives. We both live in Lake County, which is where Cobb is. And in June, it's just beautiful. It's really perfect weather. It's not too hot. And Cobb is a little bit high up. It's not quite in the mountains. It's in high hills. High hills or low mountains. But it's a really perfect weather. And plan it now. Plan coming out the second week of June and meeting wonderful, safe, cool people. Obviously, the people that you've met today. And me. I look forward to meeting you, and I'll be teaching a couple classes. I'll talk about those classes later on in the weekend. Trish will be teaching with me, of course. And I also want to acknowledge that Trish does a wonderful show every Thursday. And those of you that are regulars have heard me talk about it, but it is the self-love show. And she's been doing this show every Thursday with her partner, Dawn, since the start of the pandemic. And so I love the self-love show. I watch it often. Many of the guests are people you've seen on our different shows. So Trish, thank you for doing that. And tell us more about the self-love show.
Oh, am I unmuted? Hold on. Oh yeah, the self-love show is definitely a child of Dawn Light and mine. And at the beginning of the pandemic, you know, both of us had lost our jobs, and we were really feeling that there were a lot of people who really needed support and couldn't afford it because they also lost their jobs. And it was a really like, we have an opportunity to offer free support to everyone, anyone who wanted it. So we invite teachers and therapists from all over the world. I'm really selective. I'm into deep or decolonization work. So I'm constantly filtering specific teachers that really hold our values and can teach you embodiment practices or places of deeper self-love in lots of capacities, because we understand that there's not just one tool for everyone. And so if you want to join in, and we have a lot of really cool things coming up. We have a Patreon, and we're going to start offering some classes and shows and things that we can't show on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube because of, you know, the whole thing. And some of you know that I am a sex coach, so go over there and we'll give you some information about how to find those shows of deeper, you know, different types of self-love. So yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So again, everybody, just showing, I love the artwork. Thursday mornings at 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern. Definitely, you know, put it in your calendar, and you're going to get great tools. Every week they teach self-love practices, and learning to love yourself is really important. Self-love is not selfish. The more that you have, the more that you can give, like we heard earlier today about filling our cup. And it's important for us to fill our cup. So thank you for that, Trish. All right. I'm going to kind of go to Matt, then Holly, then Romi for any last thoughts you'd like to share tonight. Matt, I'm putting the spotlight on you.
Great. Thank you. It's been so sweet to come on the show and get to share about SoulPlay, because it really is one of the places where I connect in every year to people who I love most. It's one of the places, as Romi said, that has supported me on my own evolution and given me a stage, given me the trust and support to continue to bring my gifts out into the world. And I've gotten to witness other people through the years start as participants and then be like, oh, I'm excited. I've got something that I want to share. And then they start offering that thing at SoulPlay, and then they turn into presenters. And so it's this beautiful place to walk your path and grow and evolve. And it's been that for me. I see that in so many other people. So I'm feeling inspired getting to spend this little bit of time talking about it, to get to go and do it, because it's one of my favorite events every year. And also just super grateful to get to be here and share. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, that's a great example. Kind of tying in what Matt just said. There was a woman who came to SoulPlay a few years ago in my workshop named Sean Ree Nato. Really dynamic woman. And Sean Ree was on the Self-Love show yesterday.
We had
and
a
she-
great time and a great conversation. You should really share. It was so fun.
She's so much fun, isn't she? And she's going to be on The Awakening World next Saturday night. And I met her at SoulPlay a few years ago. So it's true. It's like you get the old timers like Scott, and you get the next generation like Trish and Sean Ray and Matt. So it's pretty cool. Holly, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'll share a bit. Similarly to Matt, you know, just I love getting the chance to talk about SoulPlay and just reminding myself and sharing with others about what it is we do and all the heart that we put into it. And I guess a quirky thing that I thought of and something that he was sharing is you really find your family at SoulPlay. You know, it's where strangers really become family, and it's like a family reunion every year. And even though you haven't met this person, you could, like, you know, you're going to be aligned. And it's almost become a way of vetting people, like, oh, have you soul played, or do you soul play? Because people trust us so much. And if you're in, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're family. So we hope to see you there.
I love that. And there's a couple of questions that just came in. People want to know more about the food options and also if dogs are allowed.
Oh, that's a special thing, especially with this June event. Meals are included. We really think it adds like more heart and more connection when you share food together. So that's one thing we get to do. Meals are included, so you don't even have to worry about that bit. But unfortunately, dogs are not allowed on site.
Okay.
And the meals are, because of the venue, the meals are
Right.
vegetarian, almost. They're vegetarian, and there's no eggs. So it's vegetarian and no eggs.
Right. Gluten-free primarily, or?
There is both.
We could cater to that if
There's both gluten and gluten-free. At the end of the day, we cater to all of the food dietary restrictions and needs, except for like
carnivorous.
meat-only diets. We don't cater to those.
Right.
But our caterers do such a good job. Like even the meat eaters leave happy. They're like, oh wow, I didn't know vegetarian food could taste so good.
It's true.
The point is people leave happy.
They do. Actually, people don't want to leave, is what I've experienced. It's not that they leave, they don't want to leave. It's like, oh, do I really gotta go? So it's kind of more like that. Romi, any last thoughts you want to share?
I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you, Scott, for inviting us to be on this show, and for Trish, you and Trish, just hosting us in this beautiful offering that you're offering to the world. We're going to be here all weekend, and I just really appreciate the offer and the invite, and it's really honoring, and it shows a lot. It means a lot to hear how you view, the work we've done and the community that's been built and the community you're part of, and it's, I don't know, it just makes me feel really good. We're doing something good.
Listen, I'm really looking forward to combining worlds, bringing a lot of the people that have been watching our shows, for 2 years now. Some of them, some of these guests have been watching us for a long time, to meet you guys in person. And SoulPlay is the place to do it. Let's all meet up at SoulPlay, second weekend of June. Let's do it. And come on back tomorrow night. We've got new presenters. We're going to have music because it's Saturday night, so we always have music on Saturday night. And we've got some really fun musicians that are going to be with us tomorrow. And you're going to meet more of the presenters, including, again, Evelina Rose, who was at the very first one, and some of the newcomers. So, and then on our Sacred Sunday show, we've got something really special planned. So please join us tomorrow night. For those of you that are Zoomers, you can come into our early Zoom room show at 5:30 California time. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night and again on Sunday. Have a beautiful evening, everybody. Thank you for watching, and much love. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.